All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Hello, everyone.
We have a very interesting topic today. How to handle the pressure of success. We are broadcasting, as it is already our tradition, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It would be great if you can put in the comments that you can hear us and see us. Especially, I have absolutely like new equipment, everything new, camera, PC, and microphone and everything. So we're good. Yeah, Mika is here. Good evening from the happiest country in the world. Six in time in the row. That's great. I think Finland
Pretty
is
nice.
doing a very good job. I will try LinkedIn because Mika is on the YouTube. I will try if the LinkedIn is
Yeah.
working properly.
And Jan, I don't know if it's your new equipment or you're not wearing glasses, but your eyes are very blue today. You're going to stun everyone in the video.
No, it is a camera, definitely.
Or the blue shirt. I
I
mean,
had
all
a
of it put
long,
together.
yeah, that can be, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, it looks like everything is working, so that's perfect. Yeah,
Perfect. And I
yeah.
want to get set off today. By the way, today's topic is probably the number one topic that we get asked to help with. Okay. The pressure, we want success. We move towards success. And then as soon as we have it, it's like, I didn't know being successful was going to be like this.
Absolutely.
Um, and I think I would love, if it's okay with you, I want to start off with my first answer to how do you handle pressure and how do you handle the stress of being successful? And I want to answer it in a unique way because today's World Poetry Day. So I'm actually going to answer my very first part of this with a poem because the very first thing that I tell
Is it
people.
American poem or Swiss poem?
Yes, I'll read it in Swiss German. Let's see if anyone
All
can.
right. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. It's in English.
Perfect.
It's in English. I actually I thought about reading one of my own poems, but I'm not there yet. But I do want to say, as I'm telling people, how do you deal? One of the easiest things to do is to constantly pump yourself up. You can
Right.
do it with music, right? You just have to remind yourself what you're here to do, what's your purpose, get yourself strong and motivated again. So here's what I read to myself whenever I'm like, why am I showing up to work? It's hard. I'm going to tell you the author after if you don't already know it as I start to read. You ready?
Let's go.
The poem's called Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? Because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Anybody know that poem? Oh, my sixth grade drama teacher would be very impressed. It's Maya Angelou. And she is one of the most beautiful poets in the world. And when you're feeling like people are trying to shut you down on social media, When you feel investors are coming for you, you're not doing well enough, your team, you're not doing it hard enough, you're not taking a stance that's big enough, you're not this, you're not this, you're not this. Every time someone's trying to put pressure on you and put you down, you don't go down in that spiral of, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing this. You do not spiral down. You rise. And so that's my very first piece of advice. Everybody should have the song, the quote, the poem, the mantra, that first moment when you're going to start to spiral down, stop yourself and pick yourself back up. And from there, we can talk about all the other things you can do to keep with dealing with stress. But I wanted to start with that. Yeah.
That was great. And I have a small contribution from Finland. I need to share it with you guys, from Mika. Roses are red, Jan's eyes are blue. To all negative people, I said F you. That's how I get rid of stress. That's nice, absolutely.
First of all, very creative, wonderful contribution.
I put my blue light,
Yeah, now we don't get to enjoy those baby blues. But look, humor is also a great way to release the stress.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And that's one of, that's a perfect tip that's coming later in my list of things to do, but don't take it so seriously. Anytime you're feeling extra pressure, you're feeling an intense moment, people are staring at you, see if there's a way to make the situation a little bit lighter, bring levity to it, crack a joke, make it feel like less pressure. Most of the time, the pressure that's being put on you is exactly being put on you by you. So see ways that you can just release the pressure off of your back. Do not take everything on as though the burdens of the world are yours and yours alone. And that's what a lot of these tips are going to be about. But Jan, I'd love to hear you. What are your thoughts as you're starting through this? How do you help athletes who are competing?
Absolutely. And I will start with the story, okay? One of the most, perceived talent this year on ATP ranking and ATP tournament is my player. My player is not my player, but I work with him. Jiří Lehecka. He's I worked with him like for 5 years, and there is an evolution of his career. He's 21 years old. Okay, 2 years ago he was 650 on the ranking. Okay, last year he was already around 90. This time. Then, this year he was already 37. Now he's around 40. Why I'm saying that? Because it has to do with the team. Once you are like top 50, you're getting pressure, a lot of pressure from the media, fans, and so on. And it's a very different as when you were number 250, whatever. You know what I mean, right? It was good. I was like beating somebody who was better than me, fine. But now expectations are very different. Okay, so the pressure in such case is like, hey, I want to move to the top 10, definitely, right? For example, Zverev, who used to be number 2, he said, well, Jiří, this year I expect him to be at least top 20. That's what he said, like at the last tournament. And the pressure is huge. You need to move up, so you need to beat better ranking people, but you still are attacked by the people behind you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you are supposed to be those people. So it's a very different, mindset than to be like, 300 or whatever. So, and there is a lot of, pressure, because success is bringing pressure because there is an expectation to repeat the success. Okay. And obviously your amygdala, the monkey part of the brain, is saying, what if I will not be? It was in the quarterfinal of the Australian Open. What if I will not be in the quarterfinal at the French Open or Wimbledon or whatever, right? So you are under this pressure. What if FOPO, fear of other people's opinion, right? And there is no rationality behind fear of other people's opinion. Okay, it's only emotional thing which was brought to us by evolution. Because in the past, imagine when I was very successful, hunter in the group of the hunters, like, 1,000 years ago. Okay. And I was hunting, was great. But then suddenly I had a very bad 1 month or 2 months, or the whole fiscal year, now, right? You know what I mean? Right? And the chief would say, okay, you are no more successful. We don't need you. Go, and you are no more part of the group. You would die in that case. So we have deeply in our subconsciousness program that if we are not succeeding, we are dying, which is bullshit bingo. This is, like bullshit bingo. But unfortunately, it's like that. And this is why we are very careful. And it is for us very hard to admit our own mistakes, because, and it's absolutely contrary to how your brain works. Brain is predicting. We are what we do regularly. It's all about, habits and stuff like that. So we predict and we correct, we learn. Okay. And your brain is in fact cultivating the past, your past, still learning, learning. And if you are not able to admit your own mistake, you are afraid to make it, it's even worse, right? Then you are not learning and you are not, moving. And unfortunately, even in sport, you have people who are like number, 6 or number 7 and never move up or even down. Sometimes if you move down, you are encouraged, to move up back again, right? So this is it. And it's quite, I use my, sport analogy a lot. But this is the same in business, You never know your amygdala. The problem is that your amygdala doesn't know, because it's not logical based. It's survival, and it cannot distinguish facts from, bullshit, basically, right? That's why your amygdala is like suppressing your potential, kind of by whatever is by you perceive your potential, it's suppressed down. That's why we have imposter syndrome. 60% of the students at Harvard, freshman students, year 1, they basically think that they don't belong there, right? So this is it. And now the question is, how to move out of that and how to have like consistent performance. It is about self-confidence and about self-awareness, because, self-awareness leads to the self-confidence, right? Now, a lot of athletes, when they are coming to me, they are saying, Jan, I wanted to have a self-confidence because I wanted to win all tournaments, everything. Self-confidence cannot ensure you to win automatically. Self-confidence can ensure in that particular day that you will perform optimally. In that particular day. Even, Djokovic is saying that usually tennis players are not playing like on 100% of their potential, right? Usually it's sometimes between 60 to 90%, but the thing is how to move close to the 90, so you can, with your 90%, you can beat everybody. This is pretty much Djokovic or Nadal or whatever, right? So this is it, right? So it is about, self-confidence, and self-confidence is enabling, your optimal performance. Once you start to care about whether other performers, in terms of the business, about, regulators, you are, gone from your optimal performance. Because the only thing in your life, it's from Stoics. By the way, people think that, kind of the fix and growth mindset is Carol Dweck. Yeah, Carol Dweck wrote a nice book about it, but it was already rooted in Stoicism. Because Stoics were saying you should take care of the things you can influence, not, stuff you cannot influence. And there are a lot of cases, you cannot influence the other stuff. You can influence what you do, right? So I think those are like keys to really have this success consistently, and less, pressure from like the fear of repeat the success. Very often, today I had a nice discussion. That's the last point. Lukas Krpálek won Olympic Games twice, judo. Okay. And his coach is Peter Lacina, my very good friend. And I'm very good friend with Lukas. He's a great guy, right? But now, obviously, discussion is there'll be third Olympic Games. And, what is my strategy? Should I, when he was like injured, what is my strategy to go then and repeat my success again? And I think if he will be fine, like physically, he will do that. He's a great guy. But you still have in your mind like, hey, how I, repeat the success, right? But, and that's absolutely the last point in this section, Success is leaving clues. Okay. Success is leaving clues. So you need to study your failures. You need to study your successes, but you need to study the other people's success. You know, right? That's why I'm always recommending learn from the best people in your specific field. If you want to win Olympic Games, you should not, learn from somebody who won, division. Right? So that's
Yes. And Jan, here I want to add a really important distinction, because you sort of hinted at it, which is when you're new in your career, when you're 300th in the rankings, you're playing to win. There's only opportunity ahead of you.
exactly.
If you fail, who cares? You're the intern in the corner. Nobody notices. Nobody's talking about it. You're not in any media. It's no big deal. But you see, oh, I have so much potential. So in that case, you're playing to win. Once you have achieved, you're high up, you're the CEO, you're the senior vice president, you're in the top 50, you're no longer playing to win, you're playing to not lose.
And as a problem.
And that's the danger zone, that you have so much to lose now. I don't want to lose the pension. I don't want to lose the big salary. I don't want to lose the bonuses. Whatever it is, you've gotten comfortable. Now you're playing to not lose. Everybody, we talk about the brains here all the time. Opportunity-based is the best part of your brain. It's your potential, prefrontal cortex. Playing to not lose is that fear, that amygdala. And that's going to cause you to take fewer risks or to try to, quote, repeat what you've done. I say just the opposite. I want you to take the Apple Steve Jobs approach, which is consistently innovate. Take that growth mindset. You don't need to repeat what you've done. You need to do something new in a new way, be your new self. And so don't worry about the past. Don't worry about defending the past. Don't worry about playing to not lose the past. Keep focusing on the opportunities ahead of you. And that will keep you in that part of your brain that's like, I'm here to play to win. And that, when you're hungry, not when you're scared, when you're hungry, is when you give it your all.
Absolutely. And I can tell you from my experience, and I mean by champions, I mean champions from the business, art, sport, whatever, science. Okay. Champions, they hate to lose, but they are not afraid to lose. Because, whatever you do in your life, you need to be kind of, loose, but aggressive. I will explain what I mean. Okay. Imagine I was sitting in front of the Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, and other, guys, and they were like reviewing our business number by number. Okay. If you will be too tight, like, I need to concentrate, you need to concentrate, absolutely. But sometimes I said, some joke, or I said, well, Steve, when we were running in Russia, this is what you told me. I remember that stuff. You know what I mean, right? So it is like, loosening the atmosphere, but it's loosening also for you. But you still should be concentrated. And that's the same in tennis. If you look at Roger, Edward is here, but is from, Switzerland, and I know that he knows Federer very well. Roger Federer is like, loose, but then very aggressive once he's hitting the ball. You know what I mean, right? It is about, because life, it's about tension. If you are like breathing in, it's tension. You are activating your, sympathicus system. And if you are breathing out, it's parasympathicus. So it's like tension, release, tension, release. This is it. What Lisa said, it's following. In our life, our brain likes stability. So usually we learn something, and then our brain tries to do something which is called homeostasis, to basically say, hey, I know enough, or this is enough for me, right? And in that point, you need to go, up and up and up again. Because guys, you don't know what is your potential unless you try. Look, in my life, I was working with Bill Gates. We were, I was in the group advising to now, King Charles. At that time, it was, Prince Charles, and a lot of other stuff, right? And to be honest, very rarely I would know immediately, like 100% of the time, what I would need to do. But I was like, hey, I'm smart enough, and I will learn. And there are other people I can learn from. And this is it, right? This is it. Look, I never I never coach any tennis player in, top 50, and we still do it now. Okay. there was the same with top 100. So I learned. Now I'm learning about players and coaches from top, 10. This is it, right? I know, for example, that Alcaraz, which now, he won the big in the India Wells, the big tournament is again, number one. So Alcaraz is able to push the last ball like it happened, 20 years ago, which is a huge thing, right? Because you can forget immediately about the past and you can, concentrate on the present moment. This is, what it should be. So I think it is okay. Guys, sorry that I'm drinking, this one, but I was doing a lot of sport today. And I need to have a magnesium, and we didn't have any other bottle now.
Yeah, and it's great. You display what everyone should be doing. I'm also always drinking a lot of water.
No, always having, I have my, the other,
your nice little mug.
Water, and this is plastic, but unfortunately, I was not, able to.
Oh, I see. You're here to save the world.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Good. We want that.
I should not drink from the plastic bottle, but it happened. So sorry for it. Anyway.
Yes. But I want to add one thing that I feel like is so important, that if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to do something important and meaningful and truly be successful in life, and you have to play to win, it means by necessity you have to take risks. And I feel like I'm Swiss and, in business, I can't not mention what has been happening recently with Credit Suisse and the UBS and the banking industry.
What do you think?
I don't want to opine here. I don't want to give my personal opinions here, but I want to do a little bit of an analysis. What I want to point out to people, which is not very well known, is that BlackRock's CEO, who has, I think I'm making this number up a little bit, but something like 8 trillion in assets that they're managing, right? When they saw Credit Suisse was in trouble, they said, now's our chance. So BlackRock actually said, look, maybe we can do this bailout. Maybe we can buy parts of the business. They sent their people over to Zurich. They were trying to figure stuff out too. Whereas everybody else was like, I don't want anything to do with Credit Suisse. BlackRock was like, there's an opportunity here. And they were crunching numbers. They were making some conversations. Now, BlackRock eventually pulled out. As far as I understood from reading the Financial Times, they pulled out because they have so many assets. They have such good relationships with Credit Suisse and UBS. They didn't want to piss anyone off.
Yeah, sure.
But that the CEO said, look, everyone else is running scared. I'm running towards, because that means there's something here that we can do. That is why he's successful. Now, it didn't work out. Don't get me wrong. It's not that they now have Credit Suisse. They're going to walk away with nothing, having spent money and invested.
What is interesting, and I can't, read it yet, when they announced the bailout by UBS, supported by the government, whatever, I
not a bailout.
Wow, okay.
I'll tell you why I say that after.
I expected that, the markets would cool down. It's not the case. It's rather still a lot of money is moving from banking to IT and other sectors. Microsoft stock is now up again quite significantly, so that's quite interesting. But anyway, let's go back. I think we have a kind of interesting, pieces here from Ivana Zimova. If somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, but you are not sure you can do it, say yes, then learn how to do it later. Absolutely. Very often, when Bill Gates was asking me some questions, I didn't know, but I said, look, I don't know it from the top of my head, but probably this is what I would do. This is it, because you are never 100% ready for that opportunity. Come on, right? We are living in the exponential world, right? But you should have a courage and self-confidence, because the other thing is, if you have a courage and self-confidence, other people will follow you. People will not follow people who are not having enough self-confidence. People are following people who they trust. So a trust is about authenticity and predictability. Okay. And if you are predictably, self-confident, it's not like stupid self-confidence. Self-confidence is really about a couple of things. Self-awareness, to understand who I am, but also who I am not. I mean, people who knows me, they know I'm not on details that much, right? I'm the strategy kind of the helicopter view, okay? That's fine. So I have always somebody who is more analytical than me. I'm analytical, but it's taking a lot of energy from me. So I don't think it's a good use of my time. But I can, based on those analytics, on those data, I can, create strategy like that in sport, in business, whatever, right? So that's a one point on self-confidence. And the other point is how you are able to accept what happened to you, whether it was success or failure. Okay. And if you are in the business and you are able to admit your own mistakes publicly, then you will create learning organization, because other people, if you are boss leader and other people will see, oh, he talks about his or her own mistakes. So it's probably something which can, help me to move me in the hierarchy, whatever. And I will start to be also open. And then you create open organization and you learn, and you learn as you go. So that's a very nice, Ivana. And from Edward, we have another comment. One big key is control. Success is control. With control, you have non-pressure. That's true. And you are ready for every success. Control the strategy and the game and enjoy winning. That's true. But we need to be aware. If the thing, I tell you what, I can control my tennis game, everything, if I'm on the court or on the market. But then suddenly your competitor is doing something, changing strategy. Or now I'm sure that all, American big, banks or the Chinese big banks, they will start to think, wow, there is another big, even bigger competitor. So far, we've got like 2 Credit Suisse and UBS. Now there will be UBS. So it will be, so there'll be a lot of muscles, right there. So if it's changing, it's still about control, but it's also about flexibility. You need to be flexible enough to react. Okay. Because unfortunately, what happened to Microsoft, right, with search, even though now I started to use, Microsoft search again, because I think there's a good piece of artificial intelligence and it's good, and the same with mobile. Unfortunately, we were too much stuck with kind of the current thinking. I'll explain you, right? We thought in 2000, 2001, then search will be normal feature of all softwares. It's like all softwares will have a feature called, search. We didn't thought that we didn't think at that time about, changing business system. Google changed business system. They are, making money out of the advertising, right? It's not made through the software, directly. It's indirectly through the advertising. And that's what I think we overlooked, because we thought, hey, we are absolutely controlling software market, which was the case at that time, right? And last but not least, search, if you index more and more words, it's very hard for your competitors to catch up. Because if you have a market share like 90% in search or 80%, okay, more people search, they are doing you, in fact, service, because more words are indexed, right? So you see what people are looking for, and this is it. That's why, I think Google is a very powerful company. Point.
Absolutely. I want to add to Edward's comment and then back to Ivana for 1 second. Really important to me is the way that I look at control is I control the preparation. Am I reading? Am I learning? Am I curious and talking to people? Am I, getting good at my industry? Am I making sure that, I have the PowerPoint perfect before a training, whatever it is?
Absolutely.
I control that in order that when I'm in the moment, I can completely let go. And I do what I call dancing in the moment. So whatever comes my way, sometimes I plan an entire, let's say a 1-day team retreat. I'm going into a leadership team. The leaders have prepped me. We're going to talk about this. I have all the slides, also. We go in and the whole team wants to talk about something else. There's some elephant in the room nobody had ever talked about. We have to throw everything we've planned out the window and just do whatever, is in front of us. Doesn't make sense to just say, oh, we have this really important topic, but we didn't plan for it, so please put it aside. No. So I've come fully prepared, and yet I have nothing prepared for this topic, but in the moment, you have that flexibility to be with people. And I think if you work hard to control your preparation, your confidence, your self-awareness, your ability to go, okay, this is a fun opportunity. Let's see what wisdom sits somewhere within me, right? If you are able to just let go and dance in the moment, you can handle any amount of pressure. This is what we train people on when we're training executive presence, how to answer Q&A, how to answer media, especially if they're going at you with the media, right? Be careful with your wording, but don't get so stressed. I have to have the exact right wording. It doesn't come out right. Then you look weird, you're sweating. Let go and just be with the moment.
I don't know, Lisa, about your career, but in my career, whenever I was doing media, I was getting from PR. It was called root Q&A, kind of the tough questions.
Yes.
I mean, I would say like 80% was really good, 20% sometimes was not that good. But anyway, so I shaped it up a little bit. But it was always, I was so disciplined. I was always reading those, whatever, even if it was like small country, Azerbaijan or whatever. I was like getting ready in the same way I was getting ready for the CNN interview, right? And this is it, as Edward rightly said, you should controllable. If you cannot control, you can be ready, but you cannot control what the journalist will ask, right? But more you are ready, the chances are that you will be kind of the cool down and everything will be okay, right? That's absolutely
exactly right. And that's the point of how you deal with pressure. You do as much as you can, and then you trust in yourself. I'm going to show up with the best of my knowledge.
right.
I'm going to give the best that I can today. If I'm not perfect, we're all going to fail at some point. Then you can go home. You can A, be really upset about it, B, forgive yourself, and then C, learn from it and move on, right?
Absolutely.
But you can't control, this has to be perfect and this has to be 100%, and I'm not going to take anything unless I know that everything's going to work exactly like this. That's not life. So really, as you're working on how do I deal with pressure, the true answer is not be perfect and know the answer to everything beforehand. It's build your confidence to be flexible in the moment and let yourself go and be there.
What you can do, I mean, whether it's this media or your boss or whatever, you get a question and you are not like 100% sure you have an answer. Okay, so you can like breathe in, breathe out, and you can say, boss, this is a great question. Nobody yet asked me this question. You buy the time basically, and your subconsciousness is working already, right? So because it's very hard to be, especially now, the world is so complex. It's very hard to be ready for everything, right? I'm enjoying like doing interviews because look, a lot of people think, hey, this is the question, this needs to be the answer. No, the answer is yours. You can easily say, hey, this is great, maybe it's like that, but, and then you can go and answer the question in your way, basically. A lot of people think I'm obliged to know everything. No, no. And and if you don't know, and if you really don't know, and you don't want to like think about it, you may say, unfortunately, I don't know. I never thought about it. I need to give them more time. And even big guys are saying that sometimes.
Yeah. And when I'm in, if it's like a business meeting and it's a very specific answer, yes or no, or what are the numbers, you can't kind of play around. But if you're in a media setting or you're giving a speech and someone asks you a question, you can say, I haven't ever thought of that before. I'm going to give it some thought because it's a worthwhile question. What does come to my mind that's related? And then, you've responded and you've moved on. You don't have to admit, oh, I don't know. Right? You
Right.
thoughtfully answer, and then you come up with what you do know. And remember, your goal is you continue to give wisdom to people. That's what they truly want.
Yeah.
So give it to them.
I just scanned what Freddie Brunato put there, and I will
Yeah.
take this one because there are like 4 pieces. It's important to remember your origins and stay true to yourself, even when faced with obstacles. Absolutely, because your brain works best when you are authentic, when you are who you really are. You should not. When we pretend that we are somebody else, the other person is able to figure out in 17 milliseconds. It's called
Yep.
incongruence. Our basically words and our face and the body language is in incongruence. And imagine situations, it more or less, this is about, intuition. Okay. Sometimes we call it gut feeling, right? And imagine when, our predecessors were like hunting and, the women were taking care of the household or whatever, and somebody was coming, they would need to figure out, hey, they are enemies or are they friends, from the body language, basically, right? And this is where the gut feeling is coming from. So the women's intuition is even deeper than the men, but everybody got an intuition. So this is why it is really important to be authentic, to really understand what are your origin and stay to that, right? And even as you said, you have some obstacles and challenges, because only if you are your own. That's why my kind of the t-shirts, and they are producing out those t-shirts, and my slogan is be more of who you are, because people think that they can totally, you can use your genes in a different way, but you cannot change your genes. Okay, so for example, the talents are genetical information. Okay, that's why you have some genes for something you may don't have. Like I'm not very talented in drawing. I never did it.
Me neither. Me neither.
So but who cares? I have another talents, right?
Well, I always say nobody asks how good Einstein was at playing basketball, because who cares, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
But Freddie, you mentioned very important point, and that's really be yourself. It's about authenticity, because all we as a humans, we are so much ahead because we cooperate, and cooperation and all teamwork and everything is based on the trust, and trust is based really on the predictability, because we like it, right? If I can be very tough with my team, but I'm predictably tough, so they basically expect, no, really, this
yes,
is it.
they know.
And
Exactly.
the other thing is authenticity, because once, I tell you another thing. I was coaching. I was having like 3 lessons recently in South for 2 days. I was teaching there, and I was doing coaching yesterday, right? And they asked me what should be my pitch, because they do some startups and stuff like that. What should be my pitch? Okay. And I said, your pitch, all numbers, needs to write history. So the pitch needs to be consistent pitch. Okay. I was like, whenever somebody was presenting to me, I was always looking for inconsistency in the presentation. And if I didn't find it, I said, well, that's probably, good stuff, right? Because once it's inconsistent, you are like suspicious, and then the whole trust is gone. Basically, that's the same with authenticity, right? The story needs to be really, consistent, and with the numbers, it is amazing what you can do with the numbers. I remember, give you one example. When I was a newly appointed country manager 24 years ago in Microsoft for Czech Republic and Slovakia, we had a tough half of the year. We were like a little bit behind the budget, like probably 10%. But I went in. Balmer was running sales and marketing. I went in front of the Balmer and I said, Steve, this is what we did. We will go in the second half after market share. This is what we will do. And you have my word that we will do it, right? So my current numbers were not that great, but he seen the vision, anything. And at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we were absolutely fine. So my numbers were not looking great, but I created good story, good vision around it. Okay. There was a Hungarian country manager who was 15% above the budget, and he was not able to explain why. He was fired from the spot by Balmer. Right? So this is because you need to understand. In even if the business is not going very well, you still need to understand it, right? And on the other hand, if it's going well, it doesn't mean that you should not go even more, right? And if you don't understand why your numbers are that great, then it's tough,
Yes. And Freddie has, by the way, for anyone who's not on YouTube, Freddie has so many great comments here on YouTube. The next one is, by staying true to your journey and values, you will be able to navigate any situation with integrity and authenticity. And this is really important. This is one of the top things that I want to make sure that everybody walks away with. How do you withstand the pressure? You have to know that you're doing the right thing and showing up as best you can. And
Absolutely.
so you, at the end of every day, are the one who has to look in the mirror. So you have to know, what are your values? What do you stand for? Are you living in integrity? Because only you can know, should I keep pushing for this fight? Should I keep showing up in the way that I am? Not just for yourself. And this is the next thing that's really important. How do you stand all this pressure? If it's just for you and your person and your ego, and people are constantly attacking you, I mean, look at how many celebrities are going through mental health crises because so many people are so hurtful and mean. But if you use your voice, if you realize, I have a following, I can make a difference. Let me stand up for a political movement I believe in. Let me stand up for the environment. Like Jan said, hey, I shouldn't be drinking from plastic bottles. If you use your voice for good, you can forgive yourself. Okay, I have this plastic bottle today, and yet I know I'm going to do better and more. I'm going to explain to everyone why I still think they shouldn't have plastic. And you live your values, your contribution. This is the way to withstand criticism. They're going to tell you, you suck. I can't believe you did this. And you just have to be able to say, you know what? I did my best, and I know that my contribution is making the world something better, something bigger than myself. And that's how you can let the small stuff go.
Absolutely. And the one thing I learned in life, I mean, I was living through a lot of success, but then through a lot of failures, whatever. But whatever is happening in your life, you should always say there is always tomorrow. I tell you why this is important. Why this is important. If you are successful, sometimes you feel too important. Like it's great, whatever, right? There's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. Success is not forever. Failure is not finite. And the same, if it's if you have some failure, there's always tomorrow, right? So
Exactly.
there's a definitely always tomorrow, and you can move on. And as you rightly said, there are a lot of people around the world. They are very successful, very famous, rich. Okay,
No.
because they. And I tell you what I think is the issue. The issue is that those things like, applause or, money or, you are winning Olympic Games, those are all external things, okay? And you need to take something close to your heart. And for me, the happiest people are those who can make happy other people through something they love, right?
Yes.
So through something activity they have heart behind. This is it. Because can you buy happiness for the money? Well, maybe if you live in
No.
Africa and you cover the basic stuff through the money, but other than that, in let's say Western Hemisphere, you cannot, right? So this is it. So and then at the end of the day, happiness has to do, and we talked about that last time. Happiness has to do with the meaning in your life, okay?
Yeah.
Because if you imagine, if you like what you do, for me it was called kalokagatia in old Greece, four energies, okay? Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. I'll explain how it works. If you have a meaning in your life, chances are that you are like fulfilled, because for me success without fulfillment is failure.
Yeah.
Okay. Because as Freddie said, it's not authentic. You may, you are maybe successful, but you are not fulfilled, which means it's not me. It's really, I, accumulated a lot of money or I did something else, but I'm not, happy, right? So it's absolutely fine to make a lot of money. Don't take me wrong, right? But I think Ivana mentioned, Richard Branson. Richard Branson is happy and rich, and this isn't what it should be.
Well, he's got his own private island, and people come and hang out with him all the time. So, I'd be happy too.
Absolutely. But so if you have a meaning in your life, chances are that you will be very often in what we call in psychology flow. Flow are moments when you like feel good, and a lot of endorphin, dopamine is released. So it's about mental energy. But in the present moment, you like what you do. So you have a lot of, if you have meaning, you have a lot of mental energy. If you have a lot of mental energy, you are here now. Chances are that you have majority of the time positive emotions, right?
Mhm.
If you like what you do, you have positive emotions. If you have positive emotions, all of those hormones which are released, endorphin, dopamine, those are like individual hormones, serotonin, oxytocin, the social hormones, are very good, not only for your body, but also for your health. So you are even healthier. So in fact, if you live the meaning of your life, chances are you will be successful, you will be happy, but you will live longer, right? Because this discussion, I was in France for like 6 days now. Every day demonstration, fires, police everywhere, whatever, because of the pensions, right? And imagine, right, that you would have a situation that people don't like to go to the pension because they love what they do. And that's my case. I will never go to the pension, I mean, it's fine if they will, because I was paying some money both in Germany when I was living there or whatever, and here, that's fine. But I will never, retire. No way, right? And right, then you don't have this issue, right? But the
Yes.
problem is that only 16% of the people around the world are self-actualized, which means they are doing something they love, really. And that's the problem. And we are back to self-awareness. If you are self-aware, you would not go and do something you don't like, right? And the real issue is that since the childhood, we are teaching people what is around them, but we are not teaching people what is inside them, right? And that's to me, that's the real issue, and you will see the same is happening now in my country. There are not yet there are some demonstrations, but not that huge. It will be everywhere because it is a ticking bomb, and they did not reform it. They didn't talk about increasing productivity. That's the way how you can handle, or making sure that people are really doing jobs they like, which would take changing school system basically.
Yes. Oh gosh, I love these systemic issues. We should have a whole discussion here. We'll have a dinner party, invite all of you, and we can have a lot of political debates. I
Yeah,
love
we
it.
will come. Everybody will come to Zurich or Prague. We will do it. We will fix the whole world. This
Yes,
group.
we'll have our own mini WEF. I love it.
There are a lot of smart people on the call and all the time.
Yes, but I mean, I think we're on to something really important. I mean, there's so many important pieces of loving what you do. I give an example, both of my parents, who I guess, this is how I became self-actualized. My mom, I think you guys remember, she was in the hospital. She actually was in the hospital in an operation. She flatlined. They had to clear, put the panels on her, pump her back to life. I mean, she was literally dead on the table. She flatlined. And the first thing she said when she woke up is, when can I go back to work? And she went to all of her doctor's appointments. How do I get cleared for work? What do you need me to do?
Yeah.
Her physical therapy. She said, what's the point when I can do this? When can I drive? Because she wanted to get back to work. She cared so much.
Yeah.
My dad is retired, sits at home. He was an author part-time. Now he writes books all the time. Every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm like, hey, you have a new book already? Because they just keep doing what they love, and it's fulfilling and it's interesting and it keeps the mind going. And it is so important to feel I'm contributing to something bigger.
Patrick, I will put Patrick on. Patrick is saying that exactly. If you love your work, you don't want to go to retirement.
No way. Retirement's boring.
We figure out now the concept that retirement is a concept for people who are not fulfilled, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Guys, you would be surprised. I was coaching, I like for 30 kids Sunday afternoon, I did a seminar with like strengths finder, finding they, where are their talents and coaching them and so on. You would be surprised. And those are like, people around 30 years old, 6, 7 years of the work, and now they are doing the MBAs. Okay. In South, usually it's the best MBA in the world, or, it is Harvard. So those are like the same level. And you will be surprised. I would say 30% of those students, they were basically saying, well, you know what, I studied, like, there was a lady with all like perfect talents to be psychologist, to help people, or the doctor. She said, I said, have you ever thought to be psychologist? You are psychologist and, doctor. But then my parents said, hey, you should be accountant. And I said, I don't need to ask you who you hate your job. Well, I don't hate my job totally, because there are, some people around me. I like those people. I don't like to work on the numbers. For, you know what I mean, right? So
Yes.
somebody decided, instead of you, and then it's tough. So there are, and you can be very like successful in that accounting career still, but you hate it, you don't like it, and that's problem.
Yes. So I know many people who studied law and then go, I hate law. What did
Yeah.
I do that for?
My
Now,
daughter, my daughter, she is a lawyer and she loves it absolutely.
oh, okay. So there you go. My sister-in-law is a lawyer. She loves it too.
But
But somehow I find the biggest
but we have
disconnect
like
is
I don't know where is it coming from. We have like nobody in my family. My wife, she's a doctor. I'm engineer. My daughter, she is a first lawyer in the family. And
maybe
she loves.
you taught her how to argue well.
She's arguing a lot. That I can tell you. Right?
It's
But
innate.
here's a funny story. I tried to give her my coaching when she was like 12 years old. That was the last attempt from my side. I said, Christina, you should consider to do business like your dad. It's quite good. And she looked at me and she said, every stupid guy can do business.
She is the perfect lawyer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah,
my older daughter was born a lawyer. I'm happy to share many stories about the arguments and the details that she can figure out.
exactly.
But I want to make sure before we end today, there's one important point that I still want to make
Yeah,
as
yeah.
people are sort of wrapping up their note taking. I just want to make it really clear for those of us who are in business, maybe in middle management, senior management, a lot of times we have a lot of expectations put on us by the people reporting into us. So often we think there's pressure to succeed from above, but actually a lot of managers struggle because they're going, my team expects me to give an answer.
Exactly.
And I just want to say, renegotiate those expectations. What a lot of times we take on other people's expectations as though they are facts or laws, and
I
we
agree.
feel victim to them. Cut it out. Remember that you have power, that you can renegotiate. And I always tell people, follow your ABCs. Always be contracting. And contracting meaning, does this really need to get done today? Is this really a
Yeah,
priority? Right? And you think of me, I'm a service provider, right? As a consultant, as a coach. But I had someone asking me today, okay, what's the agenda for the meeting that's happening in May? And I'm like, May? I'm still working on the ones happening in March, right? And so rather than saying, oh, I have to scramble and I have to figure everything out, I just said, hey, normally, actually, the way that we do it is we do the high level description and we send the agenda, a couple of days in advance. And this usually works. Could that be okay for you? She's like, great, no problem. So I could have taken that expectation
right.
on as I have to serve the client and she's asking for this, but actually, they don't really care. So a
Yeah,
lot of times the expectations, you can reset them. Same with employees. You think my employees are expecting me to know the answers.
yeah.
You show up and you say, listen, guys, my job is not to be the answer giver, but my job is facilitator, coach, supporter, thought partner. So I might not be able to just give you the decision, but I'm happy to work with you to help you figure out the right decision for you. That's actually my role. So you've
Exactly.
reset their expectations. I want everybody, before we go, to imagine the expectations. It's like a backpack, and you wear them and they feel heavy. And that's when the stress and the pressure get to you. So the question is always, what rocks can you take out of your backpack
Right.
so it's not on you? And anything you can do to relieve the pressure. Can you delegate? Can you recontract with someone? Always be contracting. Can you get rid of some expectations? Can you reset expectations? Can you give the work to someone else and not give it to you? Always be lazy. Try to find the easiest, laziest way to do it. Take the pressure off of yourself that doesn't need to be there. Then you can focus on the pressure that does rightfully need to be there, and you can respond to that without caving in the weight of it.
Guys, here is the point, right? To follow what Lisa said, it was very, very smart. There is a lot of stress. The bad news is there will be even more stress, okay? Because everything is happening now exponentially thanks to the technology. Now, stress is not killing you, provided it's acute stress, because our brain and our body and everything, it's used to go like we were hunting, having a rest, hunting, having a rest. And in fact, that, pressure is helping you to go out of the comfort zone and to grow. Yeah. While if your, stress is chronic, that's bad. That's why when the stress is killing. Okay. And now, what you can do, it is, imagine your stress, it's like fitness, because if you go to the fitness, you are under, and you do some weightlifting, you are under physical stress, right? But then you have a rest, you will come 1 week or after 3 days, whatever, and you will do a little bit, more and a little bit not more. And this is how human beings are becoming more, mentally tough. This is how the grit is, built. Grit means like, even if you fail, you stand up and you go, right? So I think recovery is part of the occasion. It is absolutely, necessary. And the other point is, as Lisa rightly said, we are creating a lot of stress on our own because we are doing things we should not do. We are meeting people we should not meet. We are answering emails we should not answer. This is it. Look, when I was younger, like 30 years ago, I was 31 years old. I almost agreed with all meetings. If somebody would, call me, I would say, okay, I know it's impolite to say no. Now I'm telling majority of the meetings on one-on-one, no, sorry, I can't do it, right? Because this is it. This is not very effective and efficient way of communication. If you need to do one-on-one, absolutely. I mean, coaching and everything, you do it. But yeah, sometimes look. If people now, I work with the Swiss Life in High Tatras, these are mountains, 2 days from now, right? And they brief me nicely, like half an hour, online, and this is it. We use technology, and that the CEO, he briefed me, and I said, that's great, right? So you can use, technology, and also prioritize the thing. And the last point I wanted to mention, try to create in your mind, like, I will do mainly things which are not urgent, but are important. Obviously, you will not avoid things which are urgent and important. There's no way, okay? No. But if you will do at least 70% of the time things which are non-urgent, but important, then you will use your full capacity of your brain, because there is a less pressure. What, Edward was saying about controlling, this is it. It is a long-term strategic planning. What you should do. You can still be very flexible, right? With the strategy. It's not like, hey, this is the strategy. No, you need to have a flexibility, but more you are planning, because if your brain feels like, hey, there's a predictability, this is when your brain is working the best.
Yes. And on this note, as we unfortunately are out of time, I could continue on this subject for a while. Maybe we'll have a part 2 one day.
It is a good intellectual, exercise always.
Yes, and there's never a shortage. there's never a shortage of times we fail and think, oh my God, how do I do this? Right? Because it's a constant thing. That's the thing I want to tell people. It's not like once you've like used these tools and figured it out, you've arrived, that you're never going to have doubts again, that you're never going to feel pressure or stress again.
Right.
Any motivational speaker who's going to lie to you and say you'll never have that again, that's a lie. But what you can do is constantly remember and recall these tools. And one of the most important tools that nobody teaches you is the tool of forgiveness for yourself.
Right.
Self-compassion, forgiveness. One of my favorite quotes by Ann Patchett, maybe I'll put it into the notes later. She talks about how she has this beautiful, brilliant, amazing idea as a writer. And she knows, she sees it all in her mind. And then she has to go try to write it down. And it's not nearly as beautiful as what she knew was in her head, but she can't get it any other way out. And so she just has to forgive herself for not being able to make that vision come to life and accept that this was all that she could offer. And by the way, her writing is amazing, but I want you to think of that with your business, with your sports, with anything that you're doing. I know that the vision can sometimes be incredible, amazing, and it can't always translate through the human. Forgive yourself. It's okay. And then you can move on. Tomorrow will come.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, guys. So thanks very much for being with us. Good night. We are putting it, obviously, it will be captured on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. There is a lot of, it's like 170 videos. It's in English, but it's also in Czech, what I do on my, own. So feel free.
Go check it out.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye.